Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a stack of sources, actually, some really fascinating excerpts from a novel, and we're just diving headfirst into this historical mystery. It's all hidden inside, well, one of the most famous paintings of the Renaissance.
That's right. We're not just looking at, dry academic papers here. We're following a trail of clues that are built right into the story itself. It all revolves around Sandro Botticelli's La Primavera. Our mission, really, is to see how this fictional narrative uses actual historical details, artistic clues, to sort of uncover a conspiracy, one that stretches across the powerful city-states of 15th century Italy.
Exactly. We're basically time traveling back to Florence, 1482. And our journey kicks off with this young woman who's sitting for Botticelli, posing for the painting, and almost immediately she just gets tangled up in murder, intrigue,
Yeah.
the whole lot.
And the novel, it doesn't pull any punches about Florence. It paints this really vivid picture. A city that might look golden from far away, but when you get close, smells like sulfur. And the architecture, it's magnificent, yeah, but it feels like it was built for giants, and the people scurrying around are like, well, pygmies. It sets up this immediate contrast, doesn't it, between the ideal and the gritty reality.
Yeah, it's a perfect setup for a hidden plot.
Yeah.
And we meet our main players pretty quickly. First, there's the narrator. She's called Chichi, and she's really upfront about her background, calls herself a cheap tart from Venice, no formal education, but she has this, like, amazing memory, almost photographic. Her thing is remembering 3 facts about everyone and everything.
Which turns out to be a super valuable skill, right? Especially when knowing stuff can get you killed. Then there's Benvolio Malatesta Bembo, they call him. He's this rich pearl importer. Seems all smiles on the surface, but you get the sense he's pretty ruthless underneath, especially in business.
And Brother Guido, a monk, bookish type, seems kind. He's heading towards being the assistant librarian at Santa Croce. He comes across as quite innocent at first, maybe a bit naive, especially next to Chichi.
Yeah, definitely. And the whole thing starts because our narrator, Chichi, is posing for Botticelli. She's the figure of Flora in La Primavera, and she's watching the artist, sees him as, middle-aged, short, and she notices he looks a lot like the figure of Mercury in the painting. It's a neat detail, connects the artist right to the artwork.
And it's right then, during the sitting, that we get the first real clue, or maybe misstep. She just casually mentions Venice being a rival to Florence, something she heard Bembo say. And Botticelli has this sudden, violent reaction. He tries to cover it up fast, but why? Why would mentioning Venice set him off like that? It immediately hints at some hidden tension, right? Politics, art, maybe something personal.
Feels like the first loose thread, yeah. And then, boom, tragedy strikes. That night, the narrator goes home, finds her roommate, Benna, murdered, throat cut. And she remembers overhearing this threatening argument just before, someone demanding something back that was taken.
So she's in immediate danger. She runs, and her instinct takes her to Santa Croce Church, a place she knows from her previous life, let's say. She bumps into Brother Malachi there, a monk who recognizes her, and he helps her hide.
Right, and while she's hiding, she reconnects with Brother Guido, and there's that really memorable bit where she tries to, proposition him. She's genuinely shocked when she finds out he's actually chaste, and he's completely startled by her.
It really highlights how different their worlds are, doesn't it? Their expectations. And then, while they're still hiding in the church, they overhear something awful, the sound of a body being dumped into a well. Brother Guido is, understandably, terrified. This is not the quiet life he signed up for.
And the story makes it pretty clear the killers aren't after the big famous Primavera painting hanging on a wall somewhere. No, they're after something she has, a cartone, which is like a smaller, detailed copy of the painting, often has a grid on it, used for transferring the design.
Right.
So the idea is this copy, the cartone, holds the secret message, not the original. So their problem isn't just staying alive, it's figuring out what the attackers think is hidden in this little drawing and why they're willing to kill for it.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The cartone is the key. It forces them to look at the painting itself, not just as art, but as, a potential code. Brother Guido, he steps up here with his knowledge. He starts identifying the figures.
Yeah.
Zephyrus, Chloris turning into Flora, that's Chichi, the 3 Graces, Mercury looking like Botticelli. He connected to Poliziano's Stanze, that poem about spring turning into summer, gives them a basic framework.
Yeah, the standard interpretation. But the real question is, how do you read it? They start debating the direction straight away. Is it right to left, like allegories often are, starting with Zephyrus and Chloris on the right? Or is it left to right, maybe following Mercury on the far left? Or maybe even clockwise, following the flow of the figures? Just asking about the direction makes you realize this painting might have a specific path, a hidden instruction.
And their eyes land on the three graces, right in the middle. Brother Guido, being the scholar, he looks at the empty space, the negative space between their hands. Could it form a shape? He even jokes, maybe a duck.
Ah, yeah, just throwing ideas out there, right? Which is what you do when you're decoding. But then they notice something else. The middle Grace, the one with the fiery red hair. She's looking directly at Mercury, at Botticelli. Her gaze feels really pointed, like it means something.
So that raises the question, who or what does she represent? They start thinking, okay, maybe she's masking the identity of the first city in this conspiracy. One of Florence's big rivals, Pisa, Naples, Genoa. They start looking really closely at her figure. Is there a hidden letter? A coat of arms? Something?
And then, bam, the breakthrough is visual, hidden right there. The flame-haired Grace, she's wearing a crown, but it's not just any crown. It's a tiny, subtle picture of the Tower of Pisa.
No way.
Yes. So Pisa, that's the first city tied directly to the painting and presumably to this whole conspiracy. It's brilliant, isn't it? Using this super famous landmark tucked away inside this mythological figure.
That's incredible. Okay, so now they know Pisa's involved. Staying in Florence is way too risky. The abbot at Santa Croce, he thinks Brother Guido is connected to the powerful della Torre family, so he gives them ponies. They follow the clue, they get out of Florence and head straight for Pisa.
When they get to Pisa, well, it's not Florence. It's described as rainy, smaller, the buildings aren't as grand, the Arno River's there, same as Florence, but the whole vibe is just less opulent, maybe a bit more damp. Sets a slightly different mood.
But the famous landmark is there, the Leaning Tower.
Yeah.
And Brother Guido, maybe he sees beauty in flaws, he finds it beautiful, and he immediately thinks that leaning shape, that's exactly what the negative space between the Grace's hands showed back in the painting. So that reinforces the Pisa connection they found.
Definitely. They even try climbing the tower, you know, those disorienting stairs, hoping maybe there's another clue inside, some physical link to the painting hidden in the building itself.
And while they're in Pisa, they connect with Brother Guido's uncle, Lord Silvio della Torre. He's a nobleman there. They meet him kind of randomly, actually, during this big public bridge game, the Gioco del Ponte deal in Pisa. And Lord Silvio has this huge Hungarian mercenary with him, TikTok. Super loyal, super strong.
And Luciana, Chi-Chi, she gets this little taste of aristocratic life. Lord Silvio's polite to her, gives her wine, even calls her his mascot for the game. She watches the bridge game, sees TikTok's strength, and for a moment feels kind of safe under his protection.
But it causes some friction with Brother Guido, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's clearly not comfortable with her persona, her background. He admits he was kind of hoping this whole mess might be a way for her to escape her old life.
Yeah, and she pushes back, questions his piety. He warns her about vanity. It's that constant clash again. They're different ways of seeing the world and surviving in it.
Lord Silvio gives them some practical advice, though. He says, look, you need protection. Go to Lorenzo de' Medici back in Florence, Il Magnifico. He's powerful, ruthless, points out how Lorenzo survived that Pazzi conspiracy attack as proof.
Sensible plan. But then tragedy strikes again really suddenly. Lord Silvio is suddenly indisposed, gets rapidly worse, dies. Brother Guido performs the last rites. And Luciana, in that moment, watching him, she feels this deeper connection, sees her own vulnerability in his grief.
And his last words become this massive clue. He whispers murder, and specifically says it's an English word, and tells Brother Guido to follow the light.
Right, so Brother Guido thinks murder, confirms his uncle was killed because he knew too much, maybe told an English confessor, and follow the light. He takes that spiritually. Dying man's final instruction, you know?
But when they follow TikTok's torchlight, it doesn't lead them to enlightenment. It leads them to the Arsenale, this old fortress, the Fortezza Vecchia, right there in Pisa. And there are ships being built late at night.
And this is where follow the light gets literal. Inside the fortress, they stumble upon a secret harbor, and there's a huge fleet, the Muda, being built or hidden there. This isn't some spiritual quest outcome. It's military. It's real.
Wow. But they get spotted almost immediately by workmen. They try to escape, scramble onto one of the ships. Luciana helps Brother Guido up. She's more agile, but it's no good. They get caught by the Capitano of the Muda.
So now they're prisoners, locked below deck on a ship. They're talking, trying to figure out what Muda means. Could be a trade fleet, a convoy, and they revisit Lord Silvio's words. Brother Guido starts thinking maybe his uncle meant for him to find this fleet. Maybe he was supposed to meet someone down south, someone called Don Ferrante.
And Luciana, she brings it back to the painting again, her practical eye. She says, look, maybe the Grace is okay, Pisa is the tower, but maybe the others are actual portraits of real women. They look distinct. It's moving away from just symbols to specific people.
Then Brother Guido has another breakthrough. From all that time copying texts, he remembers this Latin phrase, "The sun makes clear all your inventions by its light." Finally, Venus, with her very pleasing beauty, always adorns whatever has been found. Suddenly, the sun and Venus pop out as really important potential keys in the painting's code.
Just as they're nearing Naples, this terrible storm hits.
Hmm.
Those waters are famously rough. The main ship of the Muta, the flagship, it sinks. And in the middle of this chaos, this extreme danger, Brother Guido kisses Luciana. Yeah. They manage to escape in this tiny boat, a curricle, with the Capitano, and it looks like the rest of the fleet is just burning around them.
So they land in Naples, and it's just sensory overload. The descriptions are intense, like an Arabian bazaar, a city of thieves, the sights, the sounds, the smells. You see poverty, slavery, the bassos, those crowded ground floor homes. It's a world away from Florence's calculated beauty or Pisa's, damp quiet.
They get whisked off to a palace pretty quickly, meet a guy named Santiago, who's ominously called the Snake Man, and then they're face-to-face with the big boss, who turns out to be King Ferrante of Aragon, Don Ferrante.
This is huge. Don Ferrante looks at Brother Guido and immediately recognizes his thumb ring gold, 9 gold balls. It matches his own. And seeing this, Brother Guido drops the act. He reveals who he really is, Niccolo della Torre, the heir to Pisa, and Don Ferrante welcomes him, not as a prisoner, but as an honored guest.
And then Don Ferrante says something crucial, making sure they hear it. He tells Santiago that Lord della Torre is one of the 7. That's the first time they hear the name of the conspiracy. And it seems the members wear these rings. Luciana immediately starts thinking, okay, who are the others?
There's a real transformation scene here, too. Luciana gets cleaned up, dressed in fine clothes called Lady Fiammetta, and Brother Guido. He sheds the monk look, clean-shaven, well-dressed. Suddenly he's this confident, noble prince. Luciana finds herself really attracted to this version of him, kind of regrets his path back to the church, even though she knows it wasn't maybe a genuine return to faith.
And at dinner, King Ferrante makes another art connection. He points out how much Luciana looks like Lady Fiammetta Boccaccio's muse, Maria d'Aquino, and Boccaccio was inspired by her right there in a church in Naples. So it ties Luciana's image as Flora Venus in the painting directly to Naples, and specifically to Venus.
But just when things might seem safer, guess who shows up again? The leper assassin from Florence. He's pursuing them, even here in the San Lorenzo Maggiore Church. The threat is relentless. It's still right behind them.
Luciana's quick thinking saves them again. She spots a hidden passage behind a carving in the church. They go down into Neapolis, ancient Roman Naples, buried under the modern city.
And down there, the plot thickens, literally underground. They find this huge natural underground harbor, and guess what's in it? The Muta fleet, the ships they thought were lost. It becomes crystal clear. Don Ferrante wanted them to find this secret arsenal, only reachable through the church or the sea. Brother Guido realizes this is what his uncle meant. Find this place known only to the 7.
Okay, so next stop, Rome. The description's painted as grand, like a very opal, massive buildings. But Luciana also senses this undercurrent of secrecy everywhere.
Back to the cartone. They pull it out again, examining the painting for more clues. They go over the Pisa clue again, the Grace's hands, the tower.
Brother Guido starts connecting dots. Don Ferrante mentioned the 7. The hidden passage back in Florence was at the 7th station of the cross. Rome is built on 7 hills. It feels like a lock, right? Rome has to be one of the 7.
And then Luciana has that flash of insight. It's linguistic, almost. Amor, Latin for love, strongly linked to Venus, the central figure. Spell it backward. R-O-M-A, Roma.
Oh, clever.
Isn't it? So Venus, the central grace, represents Rome. And remember, she wears that sun pendant that links back to the Latin phrase Guido recalled, connecting Venus and the sun. It all fits together beautifully.
They meet Don Ferrante again in Rome. He greets them all formally, Lord Niccolo, Lady Fiammetta. But there's a little edge to it, a comment about their freedom being limited. He takes them to the Pantheon.
Yeah, the Pantheon. They note the inscription, Marcus Agrippa made me, the sheer scale of it. And the floor made of marble plundered from all over the Roman Empire. A real statement of power, right?
And while they're inside, there's this big event, a lunar eclipse. Don Ferrante calls it an event, makes this cryptic comment about the sun being perpetual. It feels orchestrated, timed, like this eclipse is part of the plan.
And guess who shows up during the eclipse? The leper. Again, It's chilling. Even here with the king, they're not safe. He's still hunting them. They bolt from the Pantheon in the chaos.
Thinking it over, Brother Guido becomes convinced. The leper must have killed his uncle. He's following them because Lord Silvio knew too much, and maybe he was going to warn Lorenzo de' Medici.
They figure Don Ferrante planned to meet the other members of the Seven right after this eclipse. But where? Luciana mentions this story she heard about Saint Severa and her 7 sons.
And that clicks for Brother Guido. The clue wasn't seventh son, like the eclipse, it was seventh son. Sounds almost the same in English, right? And Don Ferrante was using English as a code, knowing the words were close but different. The clue is seventh son.
Okay, so they have to get back to Florence. The journey's hard. Luciana keeps dreaming about a map shaped like a boot. Italy.
Florence. It smells the same, that sulfur smell. But now there's something else. The Arno River. It's carrying bodies. Executed criminals. It's this brutal, in-your-face display of Lorenzo de' Medici's power, like how he dealt with the Archbishop of Pisa after the Pazzi plot. Brother Guido is physically sickened by it.
They need help decoding the rest of the painting, specifically the flowers. So they go back to Santa Croce, find Brother Nicodemus, the herbalist with the eyeglasses.
Right, time for botanical clues. What did they find?
Okay, so Flora's head and neck, myrtle for Venus, yeah, but also laurel or bay, could be Apollo, could be Lorenzo himself, right? Her dress is covered in cornflowers and carnations. Roses at her waist, the ones with thorns that actually pricked Luciana when she posed.
Oh.
And in her hand, she's holding marigolds and daisies, but she's dropping some too.
So what's the code there?
Brother Guido thinks it's subtle, maybe the properties of the flowers, or the number. They focus on the rose, the petals, is it the number held or dropped? But they realize they can't actually count the dropped ones accurately on the small cartone. It's another dead end, almost.
And time is ticking. They know they have to get to the wedding of Lorenzo's cousin, March 21st. That date is key. Florentine New Year, first day of spring, the setting of the painting. They need to petition Lorenzo, but they need to look the part. Luciana needs a noble dress. Guido needs followers. Yeah. It's that whole appearance versus reality thing again.
And Brother Nicodemus gives them another piece of chilling info about the assassin. He describes the leper who cursed God back at Santa Croce, says he's rumored to be this deadly, mute killer, unofficially linked to the Medici. So the assassin is tied right into Lorenzo's circle. Very dangerous.
So the wedding day arrives. They're in the San Lorenzo church. King Ferrante is there, confirming he made it from Rome. And they spot Pope Sixtus V, the Judas Pope, involved in the Pazzi conspiracy. He's definitely one of the 7. The picture's getting clearer, but still incomplete.
Lorenzo de' Medici is there too, of course, imposing the father of the city.
But the real shocker, the bride. She looks exactly like Venus in the Primavera. Same look, similar dress, even wearing that medal of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. It's undeniable now the painting is deeply personal, coded, tied to this event, this family, this day.
They look at the groom. His thumb is bare, no ring. What does that mean? Is Lorenzo the leader, so he doesn't need one? Or is the 7th city maybe Genoa? Actually not part of the conspiracy after all.
And then, the climax nobody saw coming. Botticelli himself walks up to Luciana. At the same moment, the Dogaressa, the wife of the Doge of Venice, stands up. She announces Luciana's her daughter.
And
she's the groom's actual betrothed. The Dogaressa takes off her mask and she looks exactly like Luciana. Like Flora, like Venus. Luciana just faints. Total shock.
She wakes up on a ship. She's in Venice, and there's the woman, her mother, wearing a half-lion mask, symbol of Venice. She confirms it. I am your vero madre, your true mother.
And the mother tells her the story. How as a baby, Luciana was sent away from Venice, put in a big green bottle, packed with bread soaked in her mother's milk, sent off to be hidden in Florence. Explains everything about her past, that feeling of being trapped, bottled up.
But it's a cold reunion, isn't it? The mother, Dogaressa, Tadia Michiel Moschinigo, she's all about appearance, status, Venetian power, barely asks about Brother Guido. Luciana feels this huge resentment, abandoned, and now judged by a mother Don Ferrante said was a courtesan herself. The hypocrisy is thick.
And Luciana realizes she's a prisoner again. Stuck in Venice, can't leave the islands. Her father, the Doge, controls. Her mother uses Lorenzo's ruthlessness, the Pazzi aftermath, as a warning. Stay here, comply, or face worse outside.
So her life becomes this strict routine. Baths, fancy clothes, always with this black surcoat over bright colors makeup. She's shivering in this drafty palace. Forced learning, Venetian geography, the Sestieri, the Grand Canal, history, trade routes, especially the rivalry with Genoa. Her mother teaches her relentlessly, but with zero warmth.
She even meets her father, the Doge. He seems pale, waxen, almost not real. But he calls her Luciana, which is something, I guess.
A more positive connection is with her tutor, Signor Cristoforo. He's a map maker from Genoa. Pale eyes, seems kind, has a sense of humor. Lost his brother at sea, has a wife and son he hasn't seen. He teaches her maps, trade, Fra Mauro's map, Aqua Alta suggests the world is round. And importantly, he mentions Genoese rotogravures, those durable map etchings.
Then she gets news about Brother Guido, first from Cristoforo, later confirmed by a message smuggled via Brother Nicodemus. He's alive, but he's in prison in Florence, the Bargello. Trial set for Ash Wednesday. This hits her hard. She realizes his return to faith was probably just a lie, a tactic to protect them. She feels despair, longs for him.
February comes, the trial is getting closer. She feels this desperate need to act, plans an escape by boat, asks Signor Cristoforo for help, which is risky for him. She learns her mother had another boatman castrated for trying something similar, but let Cristoforo go unharmed because he was her friend. Shows a really complex, maybe contradictory side to the Doggeressa.
So while she's stuck there, anxious, she keeps looking at the cartone. The flowers, the numbers 4 types, 10 blooms, still doesn't make sense. She thinks about dying, but pulls back. Doesn't want to risk hell and being separated from Guido forever.
One night, her mother searches her room, probably looking for the stolen gold or maybe the cartone itself, which Luciana hid. Her mother seems genuinely upset by the state of the room, warns her again not to run, not to interfere, but still no real affection.
Okay, before that whole wedding drama, the story takes them somewhere else first. Bolzano. It's part of their planned route, described almost like a fable, a city that turns into a mountain, crimson at sunrise. Luciana wants to figure out Bolzano's role in all this.
And there she meets Archduke Sigismund, another one of these powerful older rulers like Ferrante, the Pope, Lorenzo, white hair, thin, guttural accent. And it's here her mother's full name comes out, Doggeressa Taidia Mocenigo. The Archduke says he remembers her mother when she was untried, hinting at a past relationship, confirms her mother successfully hid her past and Luciana's existence.
Luciana figures it out. Bolzano is one of the 7. She studies the cartone again, desperate to find the clue for Bolzano, wanting to make Guido proud.
She pulls a little trick, gets her servant Marta drunk to create a diversion, goes with the Archduke to a mint to strike a silver coin. The moneyer messes up, the coin flies through the air, she catches it, and the coin, it has an angel carved on it. So now she possesses the angel. Another physical clue, potentially linked to Bolzano, maybe the silver mines, or an angel figure in the painting.
Right. The narrative then jumps forward, and they're on their way to Milan. Luciana is just fixated on finding Brother Guido now. She sees the city gates, walls, Roman pillars, the Duomo, but she's just looking for him.
They get to Sforza Castle, red walls like battle gore, moat, towers, see soldiers drilling ochre cloaks, copper helmets, and that ochre color clicks for Luciana. Feels familiar, like Zephyrus the West Wind in the Primavera.
They meet the Capitano at the castle. Brother Guido goes full noble, now claims Luciana is Lady Nicola della Torre, his betrothed. The Capitano seems to know him, knows the Archduke, sends them to the library.
And in the library, Guido reveals what that role he stole from Florence really is. It's a rotogravure, an etching of a map. They find stuff to print it up a page from a Bible, communion wine for ink. Resourceful.
And the print reveals a map of Italy,
Yeah.
shaped like a boot. Guido thought it was a map to somewhere,
Oh,
but Luciana, thanks to Signor Cristoforo's lessons in Venice, recognizes it instantly.
Wow.
It's a map of Italy. That's a huge realization about what they actually have.
Yeah, it changes the game. Now they can really start connecting the cities to the painting figures. Pisa, Grace's hands, the crowned Grace, Venice, maybe Flora Luciana, the Arsenal, Naples, Underground Fleet, Venus Fiammetta, Rome, Venus Amor Roma, the Sun Pendant, 7 Hills, Bolzano, Archduke, Silver, the Angel Coin, and now Milan, Sforza Castle, those ochre cloaks matching Zephyrus and the snake symbol.
Okay, so that's 6. 6 cities linked. The theory holds. The 7 are these cities in a conspiracy. But who or what is the 7th?
They look again at the snake carving at the castle. It screams Mercury's caduceus, right? 2 snakes. Milan has 1 symbol. Where's the other snake? Could it be the leper's silver eyes? Or the caduceus in the painting?
They spot another carving, too. Sant'Ambrogio, Milan's patron saint, famous for making a blind man see. That detail sticks out. What have they been blind to? What have they missed?
At St. Ambrogio's church, Guido makes another connection, a biblical one. Nehushtan, the bronze serpent from the book of Numbers. He explains the Hebrew, serpent, brass, and the plural ending, the bronze serpent's plural, links right back to the 2 snakes of Mercury's caduceus, reinforces that idea of 2 connected parts.
But their time runs out in Milan. Guards search the library. Luciana hides the map just in time. A soldier tries to search her. Guido steps in, bold as brass now. Flashes the angel coin from the Archduke, says it's a token for Lorenzo, claims Luciana is Lady della Torre. It works. They're let go, but told not to leave Milan.
Like that would stop them. They steal the Capitano's horse and they're gone.
And as they ride, Guido drops the bombshell deadline. The whole conspiracy, this new empire for the Medici, it's all supposed to happen on March 21st. First day of spring, Florentine New Year. The clock is seriously ticking.
The journey to Genoa is described as the absolute worst. They're exhausted, running on fumes.
And they're still debating. Who is the seventh city? What's Genoa's role? Near Genoa, who do they run into again? Signor Cristoforo, Luciana's tutor.
Yeah. He confirms their gut feeling. Genoa was doge, proud, would never ally with Pisa or Venice, their ancient rivals. So Genoa has to be the target, not a member of the seven. Cristoforo also confirms her mother sent him home. Okay, it didn't harm him. Adds another layer to the Doggeressa, doesn't it? Ruthless, but maybe loyal to friends.
Luciana shows Cristoforo the rotogravure roll. He knows exactly what it is, how they're used for sea charts because they're tough. He makes him a much better print of the Italy map.
They lay it all out for him.
Yeah.
The seven Lorenzo, the king, the pope, the archduke, others using the Primavera and this map as a code. A plot to unify Italy by attacking cities like Genoa on the first day of spring. The hidden fleets, the cities linked to the painting.
Yeah.
It all points to this massive, coordinated attack.
And Cristoforo confirms their worst fear. Genoa is almost certainly the main target.
So they go back to that Sant'Ambrogio clue, making the blind see. What did they miss? They found the map, sure, but Lord Silvio's dying words, follow the light. There had to be more to it than just finding the fleet in Pisa.
And Cristoforo, hearing the urgency, tells his brother to get the militia ready, tells him to go to the Faro e la Lanterna.
And that's it. The final piece clicks for Luciana. Faro. Lighthouse. Lord Silvio's words. Follow the light wasn't spiritual guidance or just about finding the Pisan fleet. It was literal. The light he meant was the actual light beam from the Genoa lighthouse, La Lanterna. That's what would guide the attacking Muta fleet to Genoa's arsenal. The lighthouse is the seventh sun, the missing key, the thing they were blind to. It wasn't symbolic, it was the signal tower.
My goodness. Okay, so the attack is hours away. Luciana volunteers for the most dangerous job.
Yeah.
Get inside the Doge's palace in Genoa, warn him. Cristoforo finds a guard, Salvatore, willing to let her in for price. Sex. Luciana uses her father's name, the Doge of Venice, to connect with him, gain entry.
She gets to Doge Battista of Genoa, warns him about the dawn attack by the Seven. He's skeptical at first, naturally, but her information, the urgency, he believes her enough to let her stay as a guest, keep her close, maybe keep her safe.
Then, total curveball. Lorenzo de' Medici himself shows up at the palace. Unexpectedly early. There's a storm raging outside. The Genoese Doge, instantly suspicious now, traps him brilliantly. Says the storm's too bad to leave. Oh, and by the way, my men are posted downstairs. Checkmate.
And the Doge plays his masterstroke. He produces a treaty, already signed by Lorenzo, Don Ferrante, Archduke Sigismund, even Niccolo della Torre, Brother Guido, and the others. A treaty drafted by the Genoese Doge, forcing them all to promise never to try and unify Italy.
Wow.
And the threat. The Doge says he'll send copies of the signed confession, basically, to France, Spain, England, reveal the whole plot, invite them to invade Italy through Genoa if the treaty is ever broken. Genoa, he says, will never join a unified Italy. They stand alone. It's an incredible diplomatic counter-ambush.
Meanwhile, outside the lighthouse, dawn is breaking. Brother Guido is down below shouting up to Luciana. She's up there, supposed to douse the signal light, and hits him. Follow the light wasn't just about finding the place. The light itself going out, that was supposed to be the signal for the attack.
Guido screams at her, take the map, the cartone, soak it in oil, set it on fire, throw it out the window now. The burning map thrown from the lighthouse. That was the real signal for the fleet. The map wasn't just the code, the map was the signal flare.
Oh my God. So what happened?
Guido and Cristoforo's men, they row out into the chaos. They set fire to a boat, then a Genoese ship. Then the Muta fleet itself just erupts. The whole harbor surface is burning. Cristoforo and his crew jump into the water, escape. But Brother Guido, he's caught in the fire, lost in the flames, assumed dead.
Oh no, after everything.
Yeah, devastating ending for him. He sacrificed himself, saved the city. Luciana is left with these awful choices. Back to prostitution, marry Niccolo della Torre, Guido's cousin, the man she hates, or die. She chooses life, agrees to the arranged marriage.
And where does she end up?
In a final, bitter twist of irony, she finds herself a guest of Lorenzo de' Medici in Pisa, the very city she first fled with Guido, the place where they had those first hopeful moments. And Guido died near his ancestral home, lost to the water, kind of echoing how he first left Florence, drifting down the Arno. The symmetry is just heartbreaking.
So the conspiracy is stopped.
Stopped, yeah.
No?
At least for now. The Doge of Genoa, by threatening to expose the whole thing to Europe, forced their hand. He broke the Alliance of the Seven, destroyed their secret fleet, and basically enforced peace through mutual assured destruction, politically speaking.
What an incredible story woven through that painting. We followed all those clues through all those cities,
Yeah.
saw how art, power, history, personal lives just got completely tangled up, and learning that the map wasn't just the key, but the actual signal mechanism in the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's something else.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About the maps and plans we look at in history or even in our own lives. Are we seeing their true purpose? Could it be something much simpler, more literal, or maybe more layered than we assume? What other secrets are just hiding there right in plain sight, waiting for us to, well, follow the right light?